Hello, and welcome to Content Talks, a podcast all about content marketing. I'm your host, Luna. I'm a freelance writer and editor, but in a past life, I was a content marketer myself. Now, I talk to some of the most exciting and innovative professionals in the industry to bring you their expert tips, inspiring stories, and strategic insight within the world of communications, marketing, and sales. Today, I'm talking to Maximilian Fleitmann, an entrepreneur from Berlin, Germany. Since starting his first internet projects at age 13, Maximilian has built and invested in successful startups in areas such as education, SaaS, and graphic design. In this episode, we talk about AI and content marketing, and you hear all about how businesses can use AI in their content without compromising authenticity, personality, and quality. Let's dive in. Content Talks is brought to you by Mediaforta, an online marketplace for the top 5% of content creators around the world. Max, welcome to Content Talks. It's so great to have you.
Thank you so much. I'm super excited today.
I wanted to start by asking, you've been building businesses since you were 13, which is really impressive. What pulled you into entrepreneurship so early, and how has that shaped the way that you lead today?
Yes. So it feels a little bit weird if you say that, because now I'm 33, so almost 20 years of me building stuff online.
True.
And sometimes I'm feeling like I just got started. So I guess back then I was always super curious, and I love to create things. And I remember it very vividly that a friend showed me how HTML worked back then. And he also showed me some things about graphic design. And back then I had so much time after school that every single day I was just trying out some different things. I was teaching myself. And then at some point I got the first clients. And the fun fact here is that most of these clients didn't even know that I was 13 years old, because it was online and there was no like formal business or something that I had yet, but I was just selling my services. And I always thought to myself, how crazy is that? That on the one side, I could teach myself some things and then sell that to someone else. And on the other side, that people were giving me money for this in the first place, because it was so much fun doing this that I thought, okay, I would also do it for free. So that was super crazy. And since then, basically, I kept continuing on this like entrepreneurial journey, although I never thought of myself as an entrepreneur in the first place. So my parents raised me more from a setup where they said, okay, the corporate career, this is the number one, the gold standard or something. And so I studied also something a little bit more basic, mechanical engineering, never thought of myself as an entrepreneur. But then created more and more companies, never left the track, and this is why I'm here. And I guess this whole thing, and especially the first year, taught me two things. So first thing that was quite interesting for me is that I can teach myself almost everything or anything out there. So no matter the topic, I can teach it myself. And this started with HTML and graphic design, but then later on accounting, finance, all the things that I need as an entrepreneur. And on the other side, I understood that if I can solve the problems of other people, I can make money with it. And back then it was basically they couldn't create graphics or websites. I could, so I could charge for this. And this continued throughout my entrepreneurial journey, and made me also a lot of money later on in the process.
Yeah, I was thinking about what I was doing with the internet 20 years ago, and it was basically just chatting with friends on MSN and looking at creepypasta online. So I think we had some really different experiences. Can you just tell me a little bit more about what that first project consisted of?
Yeah, so the fun fact is the first project was basically that I was selling my services when it came to web design and web development. So the first money that I earned online was basically I was creating these banners for other companies. And they wanted to promote their services. The first like PPC was coming up, display ads that they were showing on other websites. So I created the banners for them. And that was quite interesting because it was fun to do it. They paid me well, so it was super nice. But ultimately, at some point, I realized, oh shit, I need to trade my time for money. And realized, okay, and that's not the best thing to do, because I could only spend 3 hours per day creating these graphics. And I would love to earn even more. And then quite quickly, I started to build products myself. And the first product then was a browser game that people could play online. And this was the first time where I put in some of my energy and more people could use it. So it could really scale and I could earn way more money with the same time that I had.
And so throughout the years since then, you've also started and invested in businesses in a lot of areas. So graphic design was one you mentioned, also education and SaaS, and now you have Magia, right? Is that how you pronounce it, Magia?
Yes. Magia is a German word for magician, and it's actually a full circle moment because, as I said, I started with graphic design and now I'm back at it. So in between, I always thought, okay, do I want to create an agency or agency-like business model? Because as I said, it's really hard to scale. I can only scale it with hiring more people. But then we realized again, after I sold my last company and I was looking for new ideas, that it's a passion on the one side, like great design. I love it. I believe it has an insane impact also for businesses. And second up, through technology and also new kind of service offerings, it's possible to productize the service way better than before. So this is what we are doing with Magia now, and it's like a design subscription service. So fixed price, fixed output that the clients are getting, and so it's way easier for us also to scale it.
It was kind of like returning to your childhood sweetheart in a way, right?
Yes, 100%. But also a lot of things changed over the last 20 years. The tools got so much better, but also the ambition is obviously way higher. It's sometimes funny. I just saw the web design for my first web project back then, the browser game. And I was like, what the heck is this? How could I even like push this live?
Yeah, things did not look so polished and perfect on the internet. But also back then, that was kind of part of the charm. Right? It wasn't really supposed to look like a bot made it. There was like a human element to it, and everything was really personalized. That was something really fun about the early internet.
Sometimes even I think it was easier to navigate.
True.
Because nowadays, obviously, with all these animations and things that are going on, I'm ending up on websites and I'm like, okay, where do I need to move my cursor to get something done?
Yeah, not to mention the ads.
Yes, everything is like full.
But in Magia, and also I guess in your previous companies before, you started to understand like how important content marketing was for growth, right? So how has your experience been with content marketing in the startups that you've been involved with? Like how important is it?
I would say of all the companies that I founded or invested in also, content marketing is the most important channel for me personally. And content marketing is what made me successful as an entrepreneur. So the first time I came in contact with content marketing was in my education company. So it was my first bigger company. And back then we started it fresh out of university. And we realized one thing. We don't have any money to spend on paid acquisition. And B, in education, it's all about like trust, but also understanding, explaining things. And so what we did back then was to create content on two fronts. So the first thing that we were doing is we were writing a lot of articles on our website, like all kinds of topics from math, biology, German, English, and we were writing tons of articles. And it worked so well that over the course of a couple of years, we got hundreds of articles. And at the end, we had around 1 million organic visitors per month on the website. And imagine how much money you need to spend to actually get 1 million people right off the audience onto your website. So that was massive game changer. And second up, it also helped us build trust with the audience because we were the ones that are explaining the topics in a way that they could understand it. So obviously then they went to buy our products also because they trusted us. So that was super important for us. Back then, it was a lot of SEO, as I said, and the first things that were happening in terms of YouTube. So we started to also our own channel. We're uploading videos. If you look at them right now, it's like crazy shitty production, but still the people were watching it because it was more about the content. And this lesson also taught me then for the future businesses that content is super good because A, it helps you build trust. B, it also gives your brand a story, or you can tell the story of your brand. And 3, it can be a very good acquisition engine for your potential customers. And the cool thing about content is that if you think about paid ads, you put a certain amount of money into your paid ads. And then maybe you get revenue. And once you stop to invest that money, boom, your revenue will also stop. With content, it's different. You invest something to create the content in the first place, but then hopefully you can scale the attention without spending more in the future. And this is something that I realized early on and that has worked super, super well for most of my businesses.
I think first and foremost, it really was about adding value to your audience. It really was about having their needs and interests front of mind. And that was the driving force behind the strategy, right?
Yeah, I mean, in the first place, we just wanted to share our knowledge, and we weren't even aware of the fact that it was called content marketing. We were just sharing the knowledge, and then we realized people are coming over and they like it. And this is also how I think about content now and in the future. Content, it's not about creating content for content's sake. It's about adding value to the people that actually consume it. And this is also, and we will talk about this later, I guess, one of the huge risks that I see with AI. People are just pushing out stuff like crazy, and they don't even think about the intention or the person on the other side.
So with that in mind, can you elaborate a little bit more about how content marketing has changed since then and how much of that AI has been responsible for?
Yeah, I mean, when I think about content marketing, first of all, as I said back then, it was purely SEO, as I would call it. So we were writing like written articles on our blog, and this was 95% of the strategy. And then at some point, YouTube was added to the equation, and we started to upload videos. So we had 2 channels. Nowadays, if I think about content, the amount of channels is crazy where you can push it out. You can have podcasts, you can have TikTok, you can have YouTube, you can have Instagram. So tons of different channels and also tons of different formats. And this is obviously a huge opportunity because you can have the right channel for your audience, but it's also obviously way, way harder to maintain it from a company perspective, especially if your company is small. And the thing with AI is, and this is not per se something good, the amount of content increased like crazy over the last 2 years. So sometimes you see websites that have been around for, I don't know, a couple of weeks, and they have thousands of blog articles. And back then, for 1,000 blog articles, I don't know, we took like 3 years or something to do it. And now they do it with a blink of an eye. And I feel like it's really, really suboptimal for the whole industry because there's a lot of garbage out there also when it comes to content. And also Google and all the search engines need to recalibrate themselves to find what's really relevant for the user.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like search engines have gotten so bad these past few years. And instead of like improving after AI, because I think in a lot of cases AI is replacing search engines, it just feels like it's getting worse. But is there anything about the current state of AI that excites you about just currently or the future?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, like, it's very easy to blame AI and say, oh, come on, it's garbage that is put out. But in the end, AI is coming, and it will only increase over the next couple of years. So we need to adapt as the ones that are using content marketing and producing content in the first place. The biggest upside for me is that AI can be my collaborator in a lot of these things. And AI can help me so much to be able to tell my story even better. So I think about, for example, brainstorming, research, but then also creating some drafts, proofreading, a lot of these things. And back then, these were all different people in my team that were doing it. And now this can all be done by an AI. And of course, I as a business can be more profitable, but also I might be able to push out more very good content also if I use it wisely.
But was that the case that you actually replaced these people with AI, or was it more like they were able to incorporate that into their work stream in a more productive way? Because I think that's one of the big debates. It's like the productivity of AI. Like, does it really help people be productive, or, you know?
For us, we didn't replace anyone on the team. We just equipped them with AI to get even more done, to be honest. But I know for some of my friends that run businesses, they have been replacing a lot of people on the team. But I feel like if I have someone on the team that knows so much about my business and they have been doing a good job before, AI can empower them even more to do a better job in the future. And I was like more thinking about how can I double down with the power of AI?
Yeah, exactly. Like, how can you really empower the creative talent that you have, right? With it, it really is a tool. Is there something else that worries you about AI right now?
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple of things. So the first thing is, I already mentioned the overload of low quality content. It doesn't help anyone if you are putting out 1,000 blog articles per day. It's just noise. And also I think it's bad for your business if you do it, because people can spot AI from 1 kilometer away. At least it's for me. I know exactly if a text is written with AI.
Yeah, me too.
And in the end, you need to produce something that is valuable and that also feels human in a sense, because then you create trust, because we all want this human connection. And then the second thing that I was thinking about is like, there is a lot of use of AI without real understanding. So I still believe the people that use it should think through a lot of the things that are happening with AI. It could be accuracy, it could be ethics, it could be long-term impact. And if you are just using it, please write a blog article, 1,000 words about Webflow versus WordPress or something, it might come out something that is okay, but how will this also scale in a sense?
Yes, this is true. Like, where do you go from there? Right? And I think it's important, really, what it's all about is just using it intentionally, thoughtfully, and transparently too. Because in my opinion, I think it's important for businesses to also be upfront about how they're using AI in-house. Like, was this piece of content written by AI, or was it written by a person who used AI to kind of just polish it a bit, you know? There's a big difference between those things.
Yeah, and I feel like it's even more important these days to be opinionated about stuff.
Yes.
So the thing is, in the end, let's say WordPress versus Webflow, I can give my personal opinion of building 100 Webflow projects over the last two years. If you would ask an AI, you could say, give me the suggestion. And on day A, it will be WordPress. On day B, it will be Webflow. And out of just like some wild reasons, it comes up with it, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And I can speak from my own experience.
And I think if you, like you talked about being opinionated, and if you asked AI to like, AI doesn't have an opinion. It can't have an opinion for you. That's something that it can replace. Like if you ask, can you write an opinion article about WordPress, like to use your example, then it's going to go, that's a really great question. WordPress is a website used by millions, blah, 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 blah. But in the end, it doesn't really say anything. It's just white noise.
Yeah, true.
One of the more concerning trends that we're seeing related to AI is the growing distrust between people and businesses, because there's a lot of AI abuse out there. There's a lot of not even knowing what's real anymore if you're talking to a real person or a bot. So how can brands foster trust and authenticity even if they use AI?
I mean, how I think about this is we should be very transparent about the use AI and how we implement it in our own businesses. So that starts with internally deciding, okay, is it okay if we use AI for step A, B, C, D, E of the process? And it could be okay for a business to use it for research. It could be okay for proofreading. But maybe we as a business say we don't want any copy or text that are fully AI created, and then create some sort of like internal policy of it. I think that's the first step. And then the second step is also communicating this to your customers. So what can the customers expect when they are working with you? So let's imagine you have a blog, and on the blog you have an author box. How weird would it be if in the author box, Max is standing there as if I have written the article, and then in reality, it was written by some sort of AI. So that doesn't make any sense. So there should be some sort of like maybe even a badge in the future. This article was created with the help of AI or something like this. And then the second thing is I see AI as a help for efficiency and getting more stuff done, checking a lot of things in the process, but I still want to have the human part of it. I want to bring some emotions into the content that I'm creating. And also, I believe the companies that show a little bit more behind the scenes will win in the future. And I'm seeing it, for example, with our team. We are investing heavily into video content, also with our faces, with our opinions, and the clients really, really like it because they feel like everything else that is AI created is so similar. I just want someone that is showing their face, also stands with their name for their service, and then, they like to work with us.
Yeah, this is really important. Like if you have a product or the service or whatever you're offering that you really believe in, then you should be proud of it enough to like put your face into it and to really sign your name under everything that you're publishing online, right? Whether it's a videos or a podcast or articles. So this is very quickly turning into a really complex landscape online. And in the middle of that, what values do you think businesses should cultivate if they want to grow sustainably and still maintain integrity and ethics?
Yeah, so there are a couple of values that are super, super important. So first of all, I feel like you need to be super, super transparent. The more transparent you are, the better, with your team, with your customers, with everyone out there. How do you use AI? How do you think about the world? And I think it's, worth also gaining the trust then from your potential customers. Second up, it's also consistency. You should have your opinion and stick with it for a certain amount of time. It's okay if something changes in your worldview, but don't change every 5 minutes. And then the third thing is, I guess, clarity. That's super important. So clarity about your values as we just discussed it.
Yeah, and you actually had a really nice example of how you use AI in your company. So you talked about a 3-layer workflow that you use AI for research, creation, and distribution. Can you tell us like how AI supports you in each of these stages, and how do you ensure that you're still prioritizing human talent and creativity?
I was just creating this model for myself in my head, because if I think about content, it's always like 3 different pieces, as you said: research, creation, distribution. And I believe in all of these 3 areas, you can use AI for your help. So for example, I was just working on some new YouTube videos, and I was doing a lot of research on them in terms of, for example, what are the 10 most asked questions about Webflow or graphic design. And this is something where AI is really perfect, because it does a lot of research way, way quicker than I ever could. And it's also showing me some very, very interesting stuff that I would have never found online if I would have done it myself. So this is the really, really cool example. And then second up is the creation layer. So the creation layer is the layer that is still the hardest, I would say, and where I'm the most picky, because yes, you could, for example, in graphic design, create first drafts. Hey, please create this ad set, or please create this YouTube thumbnail. And I feel like the quality is okay-ish, but not at the level where I want it right now. But we can really use it as a draft then and give it to some of our creative team, to a designer, to actually create that thumbnail. Also, if I think about creation layer, this could be something like, hey, an AI generated image of myself, or an AI video clip of myself. But as I said earlier, I want to be rather on the more human side and record it myself than use the AI images. And then the third layer is the distribution layer. And this is where AI can help a lot, because obviously we talked about the multiple channels, and I want to create or like distribute across multiple channels. And that means, as an example, I can take my long form YouTube video and I can throw it into an AI and say, please give me the top clips out of this long form video. And then I can also distribute it on TikTok or Instagram Shorts. And we can even do the same for this podcast. And that's super, super cool, because it doesn't change anything in the words that I was saying. It's just making my life easier to distribute it.
Yeah, I think that's a really thoughtful and productive approach. It has to come from your own brain, like you said.
Yeah, 100%.
And I think this touches on what we teased a little bit earlier about the quality versus quantity debate of it. Because a lot of these startups and entrepreneurs and small companies, even big companies actually, they may have limited resources, small teams, or maybe they just don't want to spend money in content marketing. It's just maybe not a budget priority. But for those that actually want to prioritize marketing, how do you think they can maintain high quality in their content when the AI makes it so easy to just prioritize quantity?
Yeah, so first of all, fun fact is, for content marketing in general, I always see that 20% of my articles make up for 80% of the traffic, or even 80% of the revenue. So it's really not a numbers game, because most of the time this 20% are the articles where I put the most effort in. And most effort for me, and this is my suggestion also for everyone that is listening, means make it super valuable for your customer. You know your customer best, and you know your customer way better than any AI will do. So you have the opportunity to put your experience into this article, into this content piece, and it can be text, but also it can be a checklist then. It can be additional resources. And I really believe one article that is more extensive, that has more opinions in it, and really, really helps the people that read it is better than 100 articles that are okay-ish.
Yeah, I think maybe that kind of temptation to go into quantity instead of quality is one of the mistakes that we see most often that businesses make when it comes to AI. What would be some other common mistakes that you see a lot?
I think three things that come to my mind. So the first thing is using AI without its strategy. So I see a lot of businesses just jumping on the train because everyone else is doing it. Your strategy needs to be clear. Your positioning needs to be clear. And then, as we said, AI can be your collaborator in executing the strategy. Second up, and this is absolutely crazy, I always see on LinkedIn these automations where people are generating content with AI, and it also pulls in new ideas for content, and then they are automatically publishing it to the website. So that means they are always publishing the first draft of something that the AI was creating. And I feel like that's super, super risky because it's never the best version of the article. So it always needs some sort of feedback. And also you have no idea what the heck is written in this kind of content piece. And imagine someone comes to your website, reads some absolute bullshit in an article, then trust is gone. And then the third option, or like the third thing that comes to my mind is right now I feel like everyone is copying the same formats as everyone else. And I feel like AI makes imitation easy in the first place, but imitation is super, super risky because it really kills your differentiation from everyone else. And you need to find your own voice, your own formats. And if you are bold with those, then it's way, way better for your brand.
And I think in the cost benefit of it as well, it's it may not even pay off, actually. Like the business may think that like using AI for their content is going to save them money. But then, like you said, maybe they go onto their website, they see immediately that was written by AI, and then the trust is gone. And so, yeah, they're prominent in search results, but then, you know, the person doesn't actually trust the company. They don't actually want to engage with them further because they don't like how they present themselves. And so, you know, in the end of the day, it's actually not it's not the best strategy, right, for this business.
Yeah, and we will see how that will play out in the future. But I feel like also the first big hype of everyone is jumping on the train got a little bit slower now, and everyone is realizing, okay, let's maybe also get back to the fundamentals and fix our core problems first, and then think about AI in the second step.
Now we're going into our quickfire round. I'm just going to ask you these questions, and you can answer with like a one line or just like a short, pithy answer. What skills do you believe will become more valuable in the age of AI-driven content?
I mean, for me, that's very, very clearly taste and judgment, because in the end, machines can create, but they can't really decide what's worth creating. So you are still the one in charge. You need to decide that.
What advice would you give to small companies or entrepreneurs who don't know where to start with their content marketing?
Yeah. So you should start very, very simple. One platform, one message, one format, and then just keep going for at least 90 days and see what happens, and also take a look at the feedback. No need for doing 10 channels at once.
Yeah, when in doubt, keep it simple is very good advice for almost everything. What do you hope will change within content marketing in the near future?
I want to see more behind the scenes, more truth, more reality. And I would love to learn and understand more about the people that are actually creating the content.
What's one lesson from your career that you wish every young entrepreneur knew?
Yeah, everyone loves to build products, and it's nice to sit in front of your computer to do it. But distribution is way more important than any product. And most people start with a product and then realize, shit, I don't have any distribution. You should do it other way around, build the distribution first and then build the product.
And finally, where can people reach you if they would like to stay in touch?
Yes, I would love it. So first of all, you can hit me up on LinkedIn. Just type in my name, Maximilian Fleitmann. And also you can follow my journey on YouTube. So I'm releasing weekly vlogs of how we are building our company. And it's pretty cool. So I would love to see some of you in the comments. And yeah, always feel free to reach out to me.
And what's the name of your channel on YouTube?
On YouTube, just type in Max Flight.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for joining us. I think we had a really wonderful conversation. I had a great time and I hope you did too.
It was awesome. Thank you so much. It was a real pleasure.
Thank you.